Good evening. I'm going to read from The Wild Robot. You can see the moon up there. A lovely night. It's Mabel. Anyway, chapter 29 of The Wild Robot Escapes. The aftermath. Hilltop Farm was hardly recognizable. Buildings were flattened, equipment was missing, debris was everywhere. The farm had no electricity, and the computer system was down. As Roz picked her way through the rubble, she realized she was off the grid. It would be hours before Mr. Sharif could track her electronic signal again. Was this the moment for her escape? No, Roz couldn't leave the Sharifs. Not like this. Instead, she did what she could do to help. The tornado had left behind a winding trail of destruction. Thankfully, it hadn't destroyed everything. The barn was leaning to one side, but it was still standing. Roz forced open the door and found the cows nervously bunched together in the corner. An acorn. "You are all safe now," Roz said in her calmest voice. "How is everyone feeling?" The robot was answered by a chorus of moos. "How do you think we feel? I'm a nervous wreck. My whole life flashed before my eyes." The robot raised her hands to quiet the crowd. "I am afraid the tornado destroyed much of the farm, including the milking parlor." The cows gasped. "But my udders are about to burst," cried Tess. "Would you like me to milk you the old-fashioned way?" said Roz. One look at the robot's clampy mechanical hands, and Tess shook her head. "No thanks," she said. "I can wait." "An emergency crew is on its way," Roz explained. "But we cannot be in here while they work. Please follow me." Roz carefully led the herd outside, through the wreckage, and down to the pasture. Some of the fences were missing, and the herding machine was broken. But the cows promised not to wander off, and they began grazing on the wind-blown grass. 3 massive trucks rumbled up the driveway. Doors swung open, and a crew of robot workers climbed out. The lead robot checked in with Roz as the others began unloading supplies from the trucks. Then the crew got down to business. Power tools buzzed, debris was cleared, fences were mended, holes were dug, machines were repaired or replaced, beams and walls and roofs went up, equipment and pipes and wires were installed. Clearly, these robots were designed to work as a team. The Sharifs wandered out back and stood with Roz. They watched as their farm was rebuilt before their very eyes. Several crew members marched over to the house. Sorry about that. Mabel was she's trying to escape, so I had to tie her up. Fixed a hole in the roof and replaced the shattered windows. Finally, rubble and tools were loaded into the trucks, and the robots fell into line. "Are you satisfied with our work?" said the crew leader. "I am satisfied," said Roz. At those words, the robot climbed back into their trucks and drove away. Hours after it had been devastated by a tornado, Hilltop Farm was better than ever. Chapter 30. The Gift. The children walked into the machine shed, past rows of parked farm machines, and found Roz tuning up the milk truck. "We got you a gift," said Jad, smiling. The robot felt something like surprise when the boy handed her a box wrapped in silver paper with a big red bow on top. "Can you guess what it is?" said Jaya. Roz started guessing. "A bucket, a rock, a hammer, a turtle, a can of—" Okay, you can stop guessing," said Jaya. Don't forget to read the card, said Jad. Nestled under the bow was a little card. Roz opened it and read the following words. They were written in Jad's messy handwriting. Dear Roz, thank you for taking such good care of our farm and our family. We spent all our savings on this gift, so you'd better like it. Love, Jaya and Jad. P.S. Please tell us more stories about the robot on the island as soon as possible. Thank you for the nice card, said Roz, although the handwriting could use some improvement. Jad rolled his eyes and said, Open your gift. The robot untied the bow and tore off the paper and lifted the lid from the box. Inside was a tool belt. It was made of dark leather and had a wide strap and different sized pockets for holding different kinds of tools. We thought this might make your work a little easier, said Jaya. It's designed specifically for Rozum robots, said Jad, so it should fit perfectly. The children helped Roz put on her new tool belt. Rather than going around the robot's waist, like a normal belt, it went diagonally around her torso. Jad looped it over Roz's left shoulder and down her right hip. Jaya laced the strap through the buckle and tightened it until the tool belt was snug and secure across her chest. Do you like it? Said Jaya. I like it very much, said Roz. Thank you for this lovely gift. Ah. The children smiled and hugged the robot. They really seemed to care about her. Roz wondered if they cared enough to help her escape from the farm. One of these days, she would have to risk everything and tell them the truth. For now, however, she did the next best thing. She led Jaya and Jad out to the oak tree and told them another story about the robot on the island. The campfire. Wood smoke billowed up from the backyard and drifted across the farm. Roz was building a campfire for the Sharifs. In her old life, the robot made fire by cracking special stones together until she got a spark. In her new life, she used a lighter. The family sat around the rippling flames and gazed up at the stars. The dog stretched out on the warm ground. The robot was standing nearby, but her thoughts were far away. Her computer brain was scrolling back through memories of campfires and of stargazing with Brightbill. Fluffy white marshmallows were skewered onto the ends of sticks and then roasted above the flames. The children laughed as their marshmallows caught fire. They liked them charred on the outside and gooey on the inside. Their father preferred his evenly browned. When the Sharifs weren't stuffing their mouths, they were chattering happily. There's the space station, said Jaya, pointing to a tiny dot that was slowly moving through the sky. I can't believe people live there. Animals live there too, said Jad. The station has a farm. We should bring our cows up and show those space farmers how it's done. I think our cows are perfectly content right here on Earth, said Mr. Sharif. But so am I. Once the marshmallows were gone, Jaya and Jad snuggled up with Oscar, stared into the flames, and asked their father about the old days. But the children were just too cozy to stay awake for long, so Mr. Sharif spoke to Roz instead. We made campfires all the time when I was a boy. The man poked the coals with his marshmallow stick, and glowing embers floated into the air. The whole family would sit around like this, telling stories. We had a nice life here. But then my brother and sister moved to the city. My parents got old, and everyone expected me to take over the farm. I couldn't run this place by myself, he went on. And so I hired Jamila. I did the farm work. She managed the business. We made a good team. Then we fell in love. When Jamila was pregnant with Jad, we bought a few auto machines to help out. Then Jaya showed up, and we bought a few more. If I'd have known one of those machines would be the death of her. The farmer's voice trailed off. Roz wanted to know more about Jamila, about Mr. Sharif, and about the rest of his family. But a normal robot wouldn't ask personal questions, so she kept her questions to herself and dropped another log on the fire. Chapter 32, The Old Barn. Long ago, Hilltop Farm was a very different place. The original farmers grew vegetable gardens and fruit orchards, and they raised chickens and sheep and goats. The farm had changed a lot since then, but there were still signs of its past. Low stone walls lined some of the fields. A rusty tractor sat in the weeds, and hidden within a densely wooded grove was the old barn. The barn hadn't been used in generations. Over the years, trees had quietly grown up around it and moss had spread across its roof. But the barn was still strong and solid, and Roz wanted to take a look inside. The big barn door screeched along its rails. "Hello," said the robot, peering into the darkness. "Is anyone here?" A mouse squeaked and scurried out of sight. And then Roz had the barn to herself. She stepped through the doorway and switched on her headlights. The vast interior was crisscrossed with thick wooden beams. Stairways and ramps led up to lofts and platforms. Lanterns hung from hooks on the walls. Old-fashioned farm equipment lay here and there. The barn still had the faint smell of farm animals, even though none had lived there in ages. A large trunk sat on a work table covered in dust. Roz carefully opened the lid and examined its contents. A collection of farming magazines, a pair of leather gloves, a pencil nub. Then she noticed a small journal. The name Cyrus Sharif was elegantly scrawled across its cover. The pages were filled with his handwritten notes and hand-drawn diagrams about raising livestock, growing crops, building farms, barns, about working the land with the help of strong animals and simple machines. Cyrus Sharif had also jotted down his thoughts about the long history of farming. He believed that the modern world owed its entire existence to ancient farms when early humans first started growing their food. Those farms were small and primitive, but they supported villages, which became towns, which became cities. The writings were so wise and insightful that Roz read the journal from cover to cover. By the end, she almost felt as if she knew Cyrus Sharif, whoever he was. The journal was a treasure, and she tucked it into a pocket of her tool belt for safekeeping. That's where we'll stop for the night, or day, whenever you're listening. All right, good night, or goodbye, or we'll see you later.